Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right, now we're reviewing part 3 of Back to the Future, the final installment of the Back to the Future trilogy, so let's dive right into it. So, where we last left off, because, Doc, he had accidentally traveled back to 1885 because of lightning and such, and Marty goes to the younger Doc for help and such. Doc passes out. Marty drives them back to Doc's house, Doc mansion. I think that, yeah, Doc, his manor or mansion, whatever, And throughout the credits and such, because, panning around his house, and Marty and Doc, they're both asleep, and the TV turns on, and Howdy Doody comes on, and Howdy Doody time, date, November 13th, 1955, and talking about everything that happened and such. And then, of course, turns around, it's Marty, and, woohoo! Like, he slips on the hoverboard, hits the organ, and, it can't be you, I sent you back to the future! And, finally everything's okay with Doc, and, because as he's in the bathroom, Marty explaining everything and such. And Doc reads out the letter, that his future self reads, that his future self wrote, who went to 1885, and Doc, apparently, because the future Doc became a blacksmith, and, they also, the instructions on the DeLorean where he left it at a graveyard, and they dig it up and such, because it was in a cave. And also the signatures, because it has to do with Jules Verne and such, because Doc's love for Jules Verne, etc., And once they get the DeLorean towed up and such, in a truck, whatever, what was the one dog's name? Arnie, I guess? Yeah. I think, yeah. I guess I'm going to have to look it up. Let me see. What was the dog's name again? I forget. Well, there's Einstein. Okay, never mind. But, so the dog, in part 3, Doc's other dog, from 1955, stumbles upon basically Doc's grave, and, Marty calling out Doc, and, it's like, look like you've seen a ghost. You ain't seen anything, Doc, or whatever, and, Doc look, great Scott, and, shot by Buford Tannen, and Buford Tannen, an ancestor of Biff Tannen, a bad guy and such, or, in 1885, the Wild West, and, also, because mentioned in the tombstone, let me see. Oh, yeah, because Clara. I almost thought I didn't see her in the cast, but okay. Again, I've got it on the tablet, so okay, but, so, Marty travels back to 1885, because they're at the movie theater, and, what Marty's got on, and I don't think Clint Eastwood wore anything like this, Clint who? That's right, you haven't heard of him yet. I think he points to a poster, because there's a poster, one of the posters behind him, and at the theater, Clint Eastwood's name is on it, a yet soon-to-be famous actor, And actually, because I read this, Clint Eastwood was tickled by his name being mentioned and etc. in the film, so that. And, let me see, what else? Okay, well, also, they travel back, so Marty travels to 1885, and right as, because there's a artwork picture or whatever of the Indians on horses, when he travels, the Indians are right there, and he turns the DeLorean in reverse, hides in a cave, and the cavalry come in as well, chasing the Indians, and when Marty goes back into the cave and with the DeLorean, he stumbles upon, there's a bear in the cave, the bear chases him, and Marty gets away, he slips off and falls down an edge, and hits a fence, and actually, because it's Seamus McFly, Marty's ancestor and great-great-grandfather or whatever, and Maggie, because played by Leah Thompson, you know. And actually, because Seamus McFly was actually written specifically for in consideration for Crispin Glover, but obviously never happened. And Michael J. Fox took the parts, you know. And you know what? Because Michael J. Fox, he totally nails at playing Seamus. So you know, so like you know, even Marty meets, I guess, another one of his great grandfather or whoever it is, and you're like, and you peed on me, you know. Marty goes into town and like in a saloon because we see who was the one guy who ran the saloon bar? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I can't remember, but you know, maybe it was it Bob Gale? I don't know. But you know, and here we pour whiskey, you know. And actually in the saloon, because we have Pat Buttram, Henry Carey Jr., and Dub Taylor, because the three of them, they did that kind of thing before of, I guess, being in a table or in the Wild West or something, and people would recognize Pat Buttram has done voices for Disney, you know, with that voice, you know, and, you know, and, because he voiced the Sheriff of Nottingham and Robin Hood and Napoleon and the Aristocats, you know, and what's-his-face, the dog from The Fox and the Hound, and what was that one mouse? What was that one? What was that mouse's name from? I forget already. It should be easy, but you know, it'll probably pop in my head soon. But you know, from The Rescuers, so you know. But anyway, so and of course Buford comes in. You know, what's your name, dude? Marty's almost about to say his name, but then he changes it to Clint Eastwood. You know, Clint Eastwood, what kind of stupid name is that? You know, dance, you know, and notices the shoes, and he kind of dances, you know, the moonwalking, woo, like, hits, like, part of the floor and, like, the container or whatever it is, you know, the gooey, like, gross stuff, you know, and so the whole chase sequence, you know, Buford and the gang, they grab a hold of him by a rope and dragged and such. And actually, because Michael J. Fox was actually being dragged by the Benny go-kart that was used in Who Framed Roger Rabbit that Bob Hoskins was in. So that was pretty cool. And so Doc comes in with a gun he invented, obviously, you know, saves Marty, and this is actually the first and only Back to the Future film where Doc actually interacts with one of the Tannen family members. So, you know, now Doc has to deal with Buford, you know, because the whole thing between Doc, who's a blacksmith, and Buford, you know, I guess it had to do something with a horse, you know, and you better watch your back, because I'll kill you, or whatever, you know. So now Marty, not only with Doc, but now Marty is dealing with Buford as well. And, you know, because Marty, like Doc says, Marty, I gave you simple instructions not to come here, but go directly to 1985. And I know, but I had to come here, and we got to get you out of these clothes. Somebody will shoot you or whatever. And who put you in those clothes? You know, you did, you know, and his younger self. And Doc looking at the photo that Marty took, and, you know, Doc and Marty have to try and solve this, and also we see one of Doc's inventions that he's created, which is a refrigerator, because it makes ice, so, and iced tea, so, you know. Doc and Marty, they try and figure out how to get the DeLorean fired up, because actually something happened to the DeLorean, like the fuel kind of ripped out, or whatever, I don't know, and they try using it with horses, that doesn't work. Then the other idea is with a train, so, you know, and actually, Doc knows this, they travel up to where, like, there's an unfinished bridge, you know, and that's what they can use, and it's a perfect straight line, you know, for that to happen, you know, and actually, because they hear Clara, because, like, the two horses were frightened by a snake, and they're out of control, they're running and such, and Doc and Marty, they go help and save Clara before falling off a ravine, and Doc saves Clara. Love at first sight with Clara and Doc, and Clara played by Mary Steenburgen, actually, because Mary Steenburgen took on the part of Clara because her children were fans of the Back to the Future films. So, yeah, that's nice. And so, and the funny thing is because the ravine that Clara almost was going to fall off, because Marty brings this up, that there was a ravine named after Clara, Great Scott, then she was supposed to go over that wagon, And Marty's like, so what, they don't name the ravine after her, And, let's just get the DeLorean fired up and get back to 1985, and then Doc says, I strongly wish I hadn't invented that time machine. It's caused nothing but disaster. And I guess it kind of, I don't know, because you know what? Because at the end of part 3, all ends well, because the DeLorean time machine brought some luck, if you get what I'm saying. Like, Doc found Clara, so, and they did succeed, Marty and Doc, on having everything be as it is, and saving the days, But at the party, because that's when the celebration of the clock tower, and ZZ Top appearing in this, being the band at the party, and Doc and Marty, they get their picture taken by the clock, and because earlier there was a photo of just Doc with the clock, but now this time it's Marty and Doc, so, And I love ZZ Top's music in this. The music they play in this. It's really da 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 da. Yeah, and Buford and the rest of his gang, they come in, and actually because let me see. Well, yeah, I mean Mr. Strickland's ancestor. Because what's Mr. Strickland's ancestor supposed to be like again? I forget. I guess a town sheriff or something. I don't know, but oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I see him. Marshall James. Yeah, something like that. And we see the Marshall's son as well, and, setting Buford straight, and also because, warning him just, because to not do anything. That fact, as Mr. Strickland has done with Biff and the others, or Slacker, that kind of stuff, so, and so, Marty saves Doc from almost being shot, and the funny thing is, because Marty, he has a gun now, because, practicing it with, and, shooting and such, and where'd you learn to shoot like that? 7-Eleven. That's funny. And this time, because Buford calls Marty as Clint, what's wrong, boy? You yellow? And nobody calls me yellow. Another term for chicken. So, what else? So everything's okay. The marshal comes in, tells Buford to knock it off, and, it's been set to, when Buford and Clint fight face-to-face, with, draw, and it's Mondays, That's the day, because apparently when Doc got shot, so, but that's obviously going to be changed. And there's one scene because, the tombstone, being built and such for Clint, in case he dies, and, Marty and Doc looking at the picture, and Marty going, Great Scott, and Doc going, I know, this is heavy. Now, this time, they switched the lines, you know what I'm saying? So, it's pretty funny. And so, what else? Oh, yeah, even, one scene with Emmett and Clara talking about Jules Verne, then they kiss, and then, and then, Clara gave something to Doc. It's some kind of flower, or whatever. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. But eventually, Doc has to tell the truth to Clara. Clara doesn't believe him, obviously, because Doc, saying that he's from the future and traveling back to 1985, etc. Doc loses Clara, goes into the saloon, has, I guess, some whiskey or whatever it is, And throughout that, and, throughout the evening and throughout the next morning and such, he's still there talking about the future and, and, Pat Buttram, because... Yeah, it doesn't really have a name, but, Saloon Old... I can't really read, but, it's because I'm looking at it on the tablet, it doesn't show the full name. But, Pat Buttram's like, so these audible Wattses, do people still walk, Oh, yes, they do, but for fun, And Marty comes in and, telling him they have to catch the train, and... As Doc, because, to the future, amen, amen, and just, Emmett, no, takes the drink, and he passes out. It's the only one he's had, and that he hadn't drank yet, but he did drink it, so Doc passed out, cold, and we see Clara taking a train and such, I guess, leaving town, and they make and the guys in the saloon, they make wake up juice, some very gross and powerful, strong stuff to wake Doc up. It does wake him up, but as he wakes up, he runs to where to get some water, where the horses would drink. They pull him out of there, Marty and the one guy in the saloon. He's still out. Oh, that was just a recap or something, Buford and his gang come in, and, because it's time for Marty/Clint to face off against Buford. Doc is okay and such, not unpassed out, They make a break for it, but, they get caught and such. Only Doc gets caught while Marty is left alone. Then he comes face to face with Buford. Draw. No, and drops his weapon. I thought we can settle this like men. You thought wrong, dude. Kills Marty, but it turns out, because just like Clint Eastwood, bulletproof and such, but like Buford does punch him and tries to punch him in the gut or something, but hurts his hand instead because of what was underneath the cloth, punches Buford, and then Buford hits the manure, the manar, and the green stuff. It's obviously from the horse, the horses. And, I hate manars, And then, Marty and Doc, they go chasing after the train. They snatch the train. Doc blows the whistle, and I wanted to do that all my life. And actually, that line that he says, I wanted to do that all my life, that would be said again in The Polar Express with the hero boy, blowing the whistle, and I wanted to do that my whole life, so pretty cool. Even the flux capacitor, I think I mentioned this, the flux capacitor appears in The Polar Express. In my review of Polar Express, I think I did mention that, I'm pretty sure, but, if I did, you can let me know on that. So, Clara then realizes about Marty, about Doc, and, because these two guys were talking to Doc in the evening, because, and Clara goes back to where Doc was, where his cabin, or where Doc works, I guess, and sees the woodcraft of the DeLorean, time machine, because of the train model set, that they built, Doc and Marty practicing and demonstrating and testing out how it would turn out, the train pushing the DeLorean, and we see that, and, Clara catches up to the train, and, Marty's in the DeLorean, Doc is making his way, but goes back to save Clara. She's almost about to fall off, but, Doc saves her using the hoverboard. Marty goes back to 1985. A train comes in, destroys the DeLorean entirely, and, with simple words that Marty says, well, Doc, it's destroyed, just like you wanted it, because, Doc stated, I guess, that when they get back, they destroy it, so, and thus it is. Flux capacitor not working anymore, and with the buttons, the numbers not working anymore. So yeah, the DeLorean's done for. So Marty goes back to his house, and Biff is there, still working as waxing cars, whatever, and goes to pick up Jennifer. Jennifer's still there where they left him, because they left her at her house when 1985 was changed entirely, and they meet up with Needles, actually, because, they have a little race. But, Marty, you think I was stupid enough to race that a-hole, And because in 2015, because something that it had to do with it, because Marty lost a race to Needles, and which caused him to, with his credit card. So, they go back to where the DeLorean was destroyed, and then, another time machine comes in. It's a train time machine, and it's Doc and it's Clara, along with Einstein, and Doc and Clara's kids. They have two boys, Jules and Vern. Get it? Because named after Jules Verne. And, yep, and so all ends well, and that one scene with, it's Vern. The kids are played by Todd Cameron Brown and Daniel Evans. Todd plays Jules and Daniel plays Vern. Daniel at one point, he kind of does this and pokes at his crotch. Do you not remember seeing that? What? Because he was alerting somebody he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know, but I guess something like that. Who could blame him? He's a kid, so probably had to go to the bathroom. But at the end, Doc says, the future is, make it a good one, etc. And Marty asks him the last words that Doc and Marty give, Doc, you going back to the future? Nope, been there already. And I think that's the last thing that Doc says. Doc has the last line of the film. The train starts to fly and runs to the camera, and the words show the end, and boom, the trilogy is done and it's completed. So Part 3, it's really good, and probably my favorite. Like, I love the entirety, I love the trilogy, all 3 films, and probably Part 3 is my number 1 favorite, if you get what I'm saying, so, And I give this 10 out of 10, obviously, so, and you guys let me know what you think of Part 3, if you enjoy it, and which is your favorite of the Back to the Future trilogy. So I'm happy to have finally reviewed the Back to the Future trilogy, and stay tuned later tonight for another one of my favorite movies. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for watching my reviews of the Back to the Future trilogy, parts 1, 2, and 3. I give the trilogy and the films 10 out of 10. And as for, because there was an animated show, I'll review that soon, don't worry. And yeah, so I will review that, and maybe say there was, I think one short film, and it had to do with Doc Brown, Doc Brown Saves the Day, because it was released especially for the anniversary of Back to the Future, 2015. So, for Part 2's anniversary, it's 30th anniversary, so, I think I'll review that too. So I have the animated show to review, as well as the short film with Doc Brown, so, So again, 10 out of 10 for Back to the Future, all 3 films, the trilogy. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Part 3 and the trilogy, of course. More reviews coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. Keep looking forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, peace out, and grace God.